Hello, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my race recap on the 2025 National Youth Circuit Series at Hillingdon. So this was the first event of the double-header weekend of Nationals, with Hog Hill the day after. So Hillingdon was on the Saturday, Hog Hill on the Sunday. But we got to Hillingdon nice and early. I'd been here earlier in the year for two of my other races. You can go and check the videos on those. But first thing I did was watch the under-14 girls. Well done to Lauren for taking the win in that race. And then a couple hours later warming up for my race, and it was a different way around the track than the way I'd been before, which meant that I had to actually focus a bit more on course practice rather than just hoping that it was similar. There was a bit of rain in the air, which was not what we really thought was going to happen. We thought it was going to be super sunny, super hot, and it was still very warm. There was some people with like ice and other cold things this weekend. But here was the race start, pretty much bang on 3:45. And it was a fairly quick start. I'd done one more practice lap before the start, so I was right at the back, which wasn't great, but I'm just at the back there on the left. But I managed to sort of sit at the back for the first couple laps, and then I moved up a little bit towards the rest of the race. But I was happy just sitting at the back trying to conserve a bit of energy, because it was quite easy to do on this course. On a different, more technical course, then any corners, you'd just be absolutely railing them out of them if you're at the back, because of it all like squishes up in the corners and you have to sprint out of them. But it was actually fine at Hillingdon because the pace was just high all around the course. So there were some early attacks made, but nothing really dangerous. I think there were some people seeing if they could get in a group and maybe like split up the bunch a bit, but it wasn't really going to do much in the end. Overall, the pace was really high. I think we averaged over 43k an hour, which is definitely the fastest I've ever had for a race. So this was the first preem lap. Harry Cooper and Dan Brunford were off the front at the time, and then Dan Davey just came over the top like an absolute rocket, and he took both the preems today. I don't think I got a video of the second one, but Dan Davey was able to take both of them, so well done to him. And then there were some attacks after the preem lap as well. So for those of you that don't know, a preem is basically an intermediate sprint, and in a stage race you might get a couple bonus seconds, but for these one-day races it's just a small prize. I think it was about £20 per preem. So the attacks started coming a bit more frequently now, so about 45 minutes in, so they were sort of getting to the point where people actually started believing they were able to get away. And this was the most promising attack. So Billy Ladle and Harry Cooper got a massive gap off the front. So Billy went solo by himself and no one really chased. And I think Billy sort of knocked it off a bit, and Harry and another guy were able to bridge over. And then once Harry and another guy got over, then chasing started happening again. But I genuinely thought that they could have gone away. And because once you're out of sight, it's sort of like a kilometre away. Or maybe not, just like even a couple corners ahead, the group usually forgets about you. So these two had a really good chance of staying away. But after a couple of slow laps with not much chasing, the pace started picking up again. And you can see just some small gaps open up in the group, and it's all strung out, which it didn't really string out at Hillingdon, because you were all able to like bunch up and everyone was always able to move around at some point. So this is definitely some of the faster laps. And I think the field was quite a bit smaller than it was supposed to be. So we only had about maybe 60, 70 riders out of the 85 that signed up. So this is my club mate Lucas and Dan Davies off the front. And then again, not loads of chasing happening behind, but clearly some people trying to get in the move. I was still at the back for most of the race. There were points where I did try and move up, but I was happy to just sit at the back, focusing more on the day after Hog Hill, where I was hoping that I'd be able to stay in the group and try and get a good result there. But you can see how fast the course was, because literally every video, people are just spinning. You always be able to see someone pedalling at least somewhat fast. Apart from in this one, it's going downhill. Bad example. And now this is near the end of the race. I think there was a break up the road at this point with about 4 riders, maybe 5. And this is Will Boldy trying to bridge over to it. And they went far ahead, maybe 10-15 seconds. But Will was able to get over within about a lap. And this is a really good slow-mo to just show, because this was one of the more technical sections of the course, and it just shows how much effort Will was doing when he was getting a gap. But also the people at the back are doing extremely similar effort to Will, but they're so much further back, and they're just trying to stay with the group. Will's trying to get off the front, and they're doing a really similar effort.
Good stuff.
So this was the break with now Will in it a lap later. And he did really well to get across to them because they were going fast. And Will spoke to me after the race, and he was quite annoyed because he genuinely thought they were going to be able to stay away. But in the end, the group chased really hard.
Hang in there, Nathan.
And it wasn't really the right riders, because Will said that he was pulling a bit harder than the rest of them. Obviously, they were still pulling hard because they managed to stay off the front for a while. But this was getting really close towards the end now. And you can see the group's just chasing hard behind. All completely strung out in this section.
Yes, Nathan.
And I think there were some riders getting put off the back at this point, even though it was fairly easy all race to stay on. But as the pace ramped up, it did get harder. So there's Theo Wan, who counter-attacked as the brake got pulled back. And now we're getting really close to the end, maybe 4 or 5 laps to go. And Theo was just going really fast. He was at the front for most of the race. And there were people that tried to get across to him, but they couldn't pull him back. And he just kept on ticking over the laps, lap after lap, getting closer and closer to the end. So he's still there. And it's not like people behind weren't chasing, because they were chasing hard. And there were people attacking all the time to try and bridge over to him, because he looked like he was going to win it. But the constant attacks, and also there was quite a while to go to the end, maybe about 10 minutes when Theo attacked. And it all just, the gap started coming down. So I think this might have been the 3rd lap to go. And I'm still really badly positioned at the back of the bunch here, on the inside there.
The gun.
So there's another attack going to try close down to Theo.
Come on, Billy.
And I'd positioned myself on the right hand side for most of the race, because I just felt more confident there in the corners. But it meant that I couldn't see the lap board, so I actually had no idea how many laps were left. But this was Billy trying to make an attack to close back down to Theo, I think with 2 to go. And then this is Theo coming in. And Billy in another group behind, and someone attack over the top here. Just always trying to catch him because it's so close to the end of the race. And the group's just absolutely splintering here.
Yes, Nathan.
And then this was going into the last lap. And Theo was caught with half a lap to go. And because I didn't know, I thought we still had 2 laps to go here. Because I didn't know it was the last lap. I couldn't hear the bell either because I was so far away from it. But I looked down at my computer and I saw that we were on 1 hour 29. I thought we'd have one more lap. So I was saving a little bit of energy to try and move up on the last lap. And I started moving up around the top corner. And I was very happy I did, because it meant that I was able to get a few extra places before the finish. But it was only about 200 metres to go when I started moving up. But this was the final sprint. The camera didn't focus, which is quite annoying, but here's a slow-mo anyway. So the 2 GKR boys, 1st and 2nd, don't know their names. And then Loris Keynes, Avid Sport in 3rd, which is super, super well done to him. because he was at the back with a couple of laps to go. I don't know how he managed to get up there, but he did really well. So Loris was very happy with third place. And then lots of riders came through, and it really ramped up the pace towards the end of the race. So there's Will Baldy on the far left there, and Lucas just rolling in the middle. So Lucas came 25th, Will was 28th, I think. So I think he was a bit disappointed that his brake didn't stick at the end, but he did really well. Well done to Will. And then there's Finley Staunton just crossing the line there in the pink kit. And he was coming off the back of a really good result, third at the Via Crit the day before. So 3 days of racing in a row for him, which is very impressive. And I just went across the line there. So 42nd, I was hoping for a little bit more, but still overall really pleased with my result. Good form, and I could have done a bit better if I had known what lap it was. But yeah, thank you for watching. My video about Hog Hill is going to be coming out soon. That was the second national of the weekend. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Bye.